Has Justin Timberlake ever like just come out and just kiss Jimmy Fallon right on the lips?
Probably. They probably just made out.
If
on
he
screen.
hasn't, why not?
Yeah, it's a good point. Just in the middle of one of their rap histories, just make out.
Just make out.
That'd be great. They haven't done that in a long time. I guess
Make
there's
out,
only so
probably.
And we are in. Sorry, wrong Joker.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a little late.
yeah.
Maybe like 11 years too late.
Yeah, a little late.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a Joaquin impression though.
No?
No, I mean for those listening, Chris is trying to dance and move the way Joaquin Phoenix moves as the Joker. It's not bad. Oh, that's the important part is the hip thrust. The hip thrust is important. Very important. Welcome to the Chris and Kyle Show, everybody. If you couldn't tell from our bad impressions, this is the Joker. Spoilers. That's Chris.
Hey.
I'm Kyle. Let's dive in.
All right.
Do you want to start with the movie or with the built-up controversy of the movie?
Ooh, yeah.
Controversy is weird. It's so weird. Everything about this movie is weird.
Okay. Why do you think so?
Because I feel like a lot of it is just people overreacting to stuff.
Okay. All right.
It's the idea of like people wanting to crucify somebody all the time.
Okay.
Like Todd Phillips was just being kind of dumb. We don't need to like freak out about it.
Now, how much of the controversy do you think comes from what Todd Phillips said before the movie?
I think it spiked it. I think there was like a low amount. So the thing that like there was a worry that people had about violence breaking out at showings of this movie because of was it Colorado shooting?
Yeah.
I think it was in Colorado, right? When The
Dark
Dark
Knight
Knight Rises came out and somebody went to a movie theater dressed as the Joker apparently and shot people.
That's why they don't do midnight premieres
That's why
anymore, right?
That's why they stopped doing midnight premieres. Which I don't know why 8 p.m. versus midnight.
Yeah, if you're going to shoot an entire theater full of people.
I don't think 3 hours is going to stop you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
it's like, oh man.
Anyway.
Like, I have work until 8, if only there was a showing at midnight.
So there was that like worry of that combined with the fact that it's a movie about the Joker and like, is this movie going to not celebrate, but like almost make you empathize with a violent figure? Mm-hmm. Is that combined with the fear of violence? Like, is it worth supporting a movie like this? And then on top of that, Todd Phillips comes out and it like seems like he's kind of maybe sort of douchey, maybe.
Right. Yeah. So you used a really important word right there that I think that it kind of muds the conversation really easily. And one that was brought up in the Time article that I read about this movie specifically, the word empathize. Yeah. Right. I think that it's a really I think that it complicates a lot of conversations because it can mean a lot of different things for different people. Mm-hmm. In my own sense of how I want to live, right? I don't think that it's ever a problem to try and empathize with people.
I've talked about empathy a bunch on this podcast, how important I think it is.
Yeah, but I think that
but I've also talked about why I think the worship of characters like the Joker and Harley Quinn are bad.
Right, exactly. But I also think that it's very easy to mix it up with a word like condone. Yeah. You can empathize with something without condoning.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, right? Before I saw this movie, like a couple hours before I saw this movie, I was actually in one of my film classes. And my professor, who's actually like the guy who runs the Santa Monica College film program. Okay, he's the one who got there and basically started
he's the department head.
He talked about how he didn't like the Joker because it glamorized violence. And
I feel like that's a projection that people are putting on this movie.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with it. And we're gonna talk about the movie itself and I think it's fine. People are everybody's losing their minds.
Yeah.
People are saying it's like the best movie of all time. It's guaranteed to win the Oscar for best film. Joaquin's amazing. Joaquin is amazing. He will definitely get nominated for an Oscar. Right. I don't know if he'll win or not. The rest of the movies aren't out.
And I also don't think that this is an average movie either. I would say the quality of this movie is
really well made.
Good.
It's really well made.
I think it's composed.
Brian Callen
well.
shows up randomly.
Did you expect that? I did not expect Brian Callen. I was looking for Mark Maron.
I heard him before I saw him.
I was looking for Mark Maron, who also has been sort of one of the targets of some of this controversy that's come out surrounding this film that we'll probably get into.
I thought he was hard on it.
What do you mean?
I don't remember. I thought I saw a quote about him sort of siding against Todd Phillips's. I saw tweets from Mark Maron siding against Todd Phillips's view on comedy.
Okay.
And he basically just made a list of super funny people, and he was like, "If you can't do comedy anymore, how come all of these people are super funny?"
True. Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit more. So let's talk about glamorizing violence, right? So one of the things that my professor was continually bringing up in this class, and he's brought up about...
Was Tarantino brought up?
No, not Tarantino. But Tarantino has had problems with that the Joker has been dealing with since the movies come out, and Todd Phillips has been dealing with since the movies come out. But yeah, the idea of glamorizing violence, right? And specifically something that the Joker does. So my professor brought up how specifically the use of slow-mo, right, and the use of really swelling music, things that I'm very adamant about the fact that just because you use slow-mo, right, and just because you use sort of romanticized music, right, doesn't mean that you're intending to glamorize or condone the actions that are depicted on screen.
Well, I mean, you're representing the way the character feels in the moment. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing.
So, yeah, exactly. So it's not just how the character feels, but you're also producing and inciting a different emotion for the audience itself, right? I think that your music choice and how you shoot everything that goes into filmmaking, right? It influences how the audience is feeling while they're watching a movie, right?
Are you talking about the end scene when he's standing on the car?
So
is that slow mo?
There's not just that. So we're going.
That's another part of it. This Joker he's not super violent that I can remember. He shoots 3 dudes, and then he kills his mom with a pillow. I mean, who else does he kill?
We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this podcast.
I don't even remember.
Just because I think that
he incites violence with his actions more than he is violent, and he does it by accident. Well, obviously the talk show, Robert De Niro's character,
right?
But even then, what I'm saying is we've seen way more violent characters in films than this version of the Joker. Any character in any Quentin Tarantino movie, Brad Pitt was more violent in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood than Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is.
Well, and I think that the outrage that people are having with this movie, right, and the depiction of its violence, I think that the only reason that people are so offended by it is because it was so effective and because of the way that it was depicted. You ever hear that phrase that a good writer can make one bullet worth 1,000 or whatever the fuck it was, right? But it's kind of the idea.
1,062 is the exact quote.
That might be right.
Yeah.
But so the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix's Joker might not commit a lot of acts of violence, but the psychology that he uses behind that violence, as well as the specific acts of violence themselves and how he portrays it, right, and how it's portrayed by the filmmaker,
by Todd Phillips,
right,
yeah.
by Todd Phillips, it is much more horrifying than if you watch Fast and Furious. If
there was blood and gore in Fast and Furious, it'd be a wild movie. It'd be nuts.
But sure, the death toll is going to be way higher in movies like that, and a lot of sort of more generic.
Batfleck has a higher body count than this Joker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. But
I'm talking 6 times as high a body count.
But it doesn't provoke as much outrage, right? Because of the way that it's depicted.
It provoked a pretty good amount of outrage, though.
Within you.
Deservedly.
Within you, especially. Right. So Well, okay, so back to glamorizing violence, right? And the use of, specific things like slow-mo and swelling music and stuff like that, right? Like, I'm an adamant supporter of, we've talked about juxtaposition, right? And a lot of the times, like, I think that potentially if you're dealing with a really good filmmaker, which I think that Todd Phillips is, I think this is a fucking really well composed film.
It's certainly.
It's really well put together and it's really well thought out. Now, I think that juxtaposition is what people are sort of getting hung up on, right? Not just with the depiction of like using specific things like slow-mo and fucking building music and making things romanticized, right? But I think probably the biggest hitch, right? And the biggest issue of outrage for this movie specifically is how it's almost as if Todd Phillips unintentionally created the symbol for the most terrifying thing in America right now, which is the fucking domestic terrorist, right? The idea of a young fucking male,
white male
shooter, right?
With fucking mental issues,
right? That has witnessed forms of rejection from females, right? And giving them a heroic figure. I think that is probably the thing that like most people are worried about. And I actually think that worry, that like concern is apt.
Yeah.
I
completely understand it.
Now, I think that there is a line with movies. And I think that there is a responsibility that filmmakers have to take when they're making movies. I don't think that everyone should be completely flippant about all of the issues that they're trying to address in their movies and the effect that it might have on the audience and society as a whole, right? I think, so that line is obviously fucking, for me, like, I think The Birth of a Nation, I don't think that it should have existed. The Birth of a Nation was a movie made by T.W. Griffith, I believe, but it was made fucking when films were first starting to get good.
Right? Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I went to like a couple film history classes in college.
You should have watched this.
I think I did. Yeah,
in that class, because I took the same class. We just took it in different semesters. But it essentially, it's responsible for the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan. You know, the reason that there's a burning cross is because of that movie. Burning crosses wasn't a regular practice of the KKK before that movie existed. And so if there is a line, that's for sure the line for me. Do I think the Joker crosses that line? I don't. I don't have a problem with this movie existing. But I do think that there are some missteps here. As far as just the act of being aware and sort of sensitive about the material that you're dealing with. And I think Todd Phillips has sort of, because of the controversy that's come out recently with him, I think that he's sort of proven that he doesn't really care about being sensitive as much, right?
Certainly.
Like he is being a little bit more flippant with.
I mean, that's kind of what the whole comedy quote was about.
Right.
His lack of wanting to be sensitive.
Yeah.
His lack of wanting to adhere to new social policies.
Now, I am okay with you being aware of and breaking social policies and being provocative while being aware, right? I am very much for, if you're choosing to be offensive, but do it because you're informed, and do it because, do it like Dave Chappelle had some backlash recently from his. I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either,
so
but I know Dave Chappelle's comedy, and I can assume it comes from a pretty smart place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the fucking Joker is good, man.
I think it's fine. I thought it was pretty good.
You thought it was fine?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know. I feel like I didn't like it the way a lot of people did. There's some stuff in it that I just was like, this is kind of dumb.
Right.
Before we move on to the movie, I want to talk about
Todd Phillips.
That and you were talking about the type of people that might be
sort of influenced
by. So okay, we see this whenever a tentpole or blockbuster movie comes out with like a female lead or the female director, and you'll see bots and people online downgrade these movies on ranking sites before they even come out. They'll write bad reviews, they'll rank them poorly to try to tank their openings. I think this movie got a reverse symptom.
Right.
I think the same type of people saw what was happening with this movie and they said, we need to support this movie. Because like it's a 9 on IMDb still. That's like a top 10 movie of all time ranking. Which
is overshooting it.
Yeah. It's a 68 from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and it's a 90 from the audience. I think it's like a 59 on Metacritic.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie was like a 90 from both parties on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, I think it's too slow to be that high from the audience.
You think so?
Yeah. For real.
I don't know, man.
Maybe not. I may be wrong. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of weird.
The fact that it's a 9 point. So like we're like I'm saying that like I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 90% from both. But IMDb is a different thing, right? So like just
9 is like super fucking high.
Like there are how many movies that are rated a 9 and over in
less
on
than
IMDb?
10.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
less than 10.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's like 6 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, very few. This movie isn't that good. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. When
I walked out of the movie, I was like, that was pretty good. I understand like what people really like about it.
One of my contentions with the idea of it being of it glamorizing violence, right, is the idea that like, well, I mean, just how I physically felt while I was watching the movie. I felt fucking grossed out. I was very horrified by the violence in this movie.
Yeah. I felt like you could tell that we were watching someone spiraling in a way that, wasn't good.
And I very much felt like, I mean, I don't know how naive I'm being in saying this, but like I very much felt like throughout the entire movie I was watching a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the things that were done to get you on that villain's side, right, still don't justify any of the actions that he took.
See, that's what I'm like. Did you ever really feel like you were on his side?
So like, to a certain extent,
I didn't.
Like I empathize with him.
Certainly,
right?
Yeah.
You understand the fact that he's going through something, and you feel bad for him.
Empathy is different than
like I don't know
condoning.
how much. Like, I'm not rooting for him.
No, I would be afraid of living with you if you were rooting for him.
I wonder if there's any evil characters that we're rooted for.
Maybe.
I mean, so we talked about this before, but.
Well, I mean, is Ava evil?
Yeah. Is Ava evil?
I don't know.
If she's evil,
I don't know.
I'm rooting for her.
Yeah. So do you want to get this quote from Todd Phillips and then we'll talk about the movie itself?
Yeah.
So Todd Phillips did an interview with Vanity Fair, and this was like during the press junket in the lead up to the movie coming out, and this is why there was such a huge online scandal of the movie existing, basically. And this pretty long quote, but he said, "Go try to be funny nowadays with this woke culture. There were articles written about why comedies don't work anymore. I'll tell you why. Because all the fucking funny guys are like, fuck this shit, because I don't want to offend you. It's hard to argue with 30 million people on Twitter. You just can't do it, right? So you just go, I'm out. And you know what? With all my comedies, I think what comedies in general all have in common is they're irreverent. So I go, how do I do something irreverent, but fuck comedy? Oh, I know. Let's take the comic book movie universe and turn it on its head with this. The Joker." And that's really where that came from.
Right. So we talked before about how that's like, it's very absolute. The idea that
I read that quote and I was like, wait, what exactly does irreverent mean again?
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and it's showing a lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, wait a minute, he thinks every comedy ever made is irreverent? And I said to you, that sounds pretty Sith. That's a Sith way of thinking.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I
thought of, I was like, what is the most reverent like form of comedy? I was like, who's like the most like, I'm not going to piss you off kind of comedian? And I was like, Jeff Foxworthy. And I was like, but Jeff Foxworthy still like made fun of rednecks. Like that's his whole thing with you might be a redneck.
Mm-hmm.
That like he's making fun of rednecks, but he's also like a form of a redneck, I guess. But but he didn't like curse or any like he didn't do like any like really provocative.
Well, I don't.
material.
I think where the maybe some it might be semantics of it, but where the line is for me is I feel like there's a difference between being irreverent and making fun of somebody. You can make jokes about people and be respectful. You know what I mean? It can come from a different place.
Yeah, I'm also into more dark comedy than you.
Yeah.
So like in several like, I mean, maybe a roast isn't a good place to start with this kind of conversation, right? But there's been plenty of fucking like just really off color shit that people say during roast, right? Like people joke all the time whenever Pete Davidson is in a fucking roast, whenever
they joke about
his they talk about his dad dying, dying in fucking 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that they joke about. And that's obviously not something that you joke about in normal. And you know, there absolutely is. There's a contextualization of comedy, right? You fucking shouldn't joke about that at work. You shouldn't say that to a coworker.
But when you're on the dais at a roast, Comedy Central roast, I feel like especially like if you're doing it to another comedian, they get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Another comedian is like, oh, if you made a smart joke about it, they're like, I respect that.
Yeah, I forgot who fucking Joe Rogan had on his podcast one day, and fucking like they basically like called each other's moms cunts, and they were like people who aren't fucking comedians wouldn't get that, like what we just did. Like we were just fucking like being really rude to each other, but we don't really fucking mean it. Anyways, so regardless, right? So like he's obviously being super contentious here and being very like, there's a little bit of like grumpy grandpa in him, you know? Like
there's still really fucking funny movies, dude.
But there's still really fucking funny movies. There's still really funny comedies, comedians. But he's not wrong in a certain aspect. There's like, and if you don't believe that there is like a downside of woke culture in the idea that nobody can take a joke, right? Like, talk to stand-up comedians that don't perform on college campuses. Mm-hmm. It's just super common that they just don't
talk to Snoop Dogg about performing on college campuses.
That was a completely different situation.
It was funny though.
So awesome. He brought strippers to a fucking halftime.
What did they think was going to happen when they hired fucking Snoop Dogg?
But I mean, that being said, that like it's still. Okay, like why would you make fun of woke culture, right? Like so you're making fun of the buzzword that is woke culture, right? And you have this idea in your head of like, oh, look at all these like fucking liberals that can't take a joke, right? But what is fucking being woke? It's being fucking aware, right? It's just being informed.
It's like anything can be taken too far. You know what I mean? Like, yes, sure, there's people that go too far with woke culture, but in general, it's just about being like more empathetic of the people around you and understanding of the differences that people have.
Yeah,
and the idea that just because you didn't mean to make someone feel bad or offend them doesn't mean you aren't doing it.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge hurdle that like older people have. Oh, I didn't mean to be offensive, so it doesn't matter.
My intention was to be this.
We just saw that this week in Major League Baseball, with the tomahawk chop in the Atlanta Braves. A pitcher in the playoff series, I think, has somewhere in his family history, there's like Native American.
Right.
And he talked about how he wasn't comfortable with the tomahawk chop and the chant and the motion that people do.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we won't do that when you're pitching. And it's like, what a weird half step to like dodge something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, just because you didn't know that somebody that was Native American could be offended by that doesn't mean that it isn't. It doesn't matter. Like, if you aren't coming from a place of trying to be offensive, and then someone tells you that they don't feel good about a thing, just stop doing it.
Well,
it's not that hard,
and it's the refusal, like, to fucking put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? Like, and the idea of like, okay, well, no, like I'm just following my team, and this is what we do. Like I don't want to change things now, because it's like kind of cool or whatever, right? Fucking, like, imagine how fucking like outrageous it would be for fucking your entire family and like fucking everyone that you know to get like this is hard to fucking like put into words. So, to get invaded by an entire fucking culture.
It's insane,
right?
And then they regulate the land you can live on,
right? And then like they regulate the land that you live on, right? And then they start fucking having teams that are based around your
in
culture
sports.
In sports, right? And then they fucking start like imagine how fucking
It's
humiliating
weird.
and
It's super weird.
fucking pissed off you would be.
Yeah, it's weird. It's messed up. One of the great tragedies of like human existence is the way
Right.
that people treated the Native Americans.
So I think that my major thing with Joker, excuse me,
The
right?
movie.
It's just Joker, right?
I think so.
It's just Joker.
Technically.
I think the major thing with the Joker, and I think this is going to bring in the idea of hashtag cancel culture, right?
Mhm.
Cancel culture. I don't think it works.
You don't think cancel culture works?
No, I don't think cancel culture
Is
works.
cancel culture a meme or not? I can't tell.
I mean,
Is it like
you
half
mean,
a
is
meme?
it serious?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think some
There
people
could
take
be
it seriously and
a-
some people are doing it as a bit.
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're saying
regardless.
that because maybe quote unquote cancel culture went after the Joker, but
Right.
then it made $93 million.
Right.
It didn't work. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so I think that there's that sort of aspect, right? There's the Barbara Streisand effect. You know what that is?
Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand is like, oh, if you try to hide this thing, people are going to look into it more, right? It's like when you're fucking on the phone with an investigative reporter.
is it
and
a-
they say, I'll explain. But it's like when you're on the phone with an investigative reporter, the last thing that you say is, hey, stop looking into this.
Yeah,
then you
and
hang
then
up
they're
the
gonna
phone,
look
right?
into it
Because
more.
obviously they're going to fucking look into
Yeah.
it more, right? The reason that it's called the Barbara Streisand effect is because Barbara Streisand bought a home, I want to say in somewhere in LA, right? But she bought a home, and apparently people were taking pictures of the home, I believe. And she said, "Hey, stop taking pictures of my home. I want it, like no one's allowed to take pictures of my place." And then it made people want to.
Which that goes
Take
into a
more
whole
people.
other thing of
Yeah.
the way people treat celebrities, but
Yeah.
that's for a different podcast.
Right. But the idea of trying to hide something so much that like you want to cancel it and you
Yeah.
want it to not exist, right? Like I said, I think that there is a line to it, right? But I think that if you have something like Joker, right, where if your main contention with the movie is the idea that it might incite and encourage mentally ill individuals to do mass shootings, right? I think that the main thing that we should be doing as a society is fucking like addressing those mental health issues, addressing gun health or gun issues, right? And actually fucking talking about what the movie is, right?
You mean try to have a little nuance and subtlety in life?
Yeah.
Nobody wants that anymore, dude.
And incite conversation.
Everything is yes or no.
I understand
Everything
that.
is love or hate now.
I understand that that's not as sexy as fucking canceling a movie, right? But if you're using it as a stepping stone towards conversation, right? This is super fucking naive. I get it, right? But if you're using that as a stepping stone to say like, okay, fucking, why is this movie hitting me so hard, and why is it disturbing me so much? For me, like a big part of it was like, holy shit, how relatable is this fucking movie? Not as far as the Joker himself, right? But the idea of like, oh shit, everything in the world is kind of going to shit.
Okay, see, I think this is where I get what you're saying, but I think this is where we're gonna find where my hitch was with this movie.
You don't believe it was believable,
Yeah, it's super unbelievable to me. And there's actually a theory I saw online,
right?
that I was like, oh, that's interesting.
The entire movie's
The
directed by
entire-
Joker.
What?
The entire movie's directed by Joker.
Yeah, basically, it's the Joker speaking to the therapist at the end of the movie about what happened to him.
Right.
And
yeah,
there's
that's
like
super
there's
specific.
a shot early in the movie of him being in, I assume, Arkham Asylum. I don't remember if they showed the name or not. And there's a clock in the background. It says 11:11. And then at the scene at the end, when he's in that room again, it still says 11:11. And he smokes with his right hand. And throughout the whole movie, he smokes with his left hand. So it's just like weird little
It's super
subtle.
specific.
It's super subtle, specific hints. But I saw that and I was like, one, how did you catch that shit on a first time watch through? That's insane. Two, I like to think that might be true because of the way I think of and that's the other, my two hitches were unbelievability and being a comic book fan, which Mark Maron's going to walk in here and make fun of me for like liking the comics, I guess. But
so the controversy that we were talking about with Mark Maron specifically, right? And the reason that people were getting pissed off with him was because he came out He said multiple times in his podcast that he doesn't like comic book and a lot of nerd culture.
I think Mark Maron's super funny, and like I don't mind that he.
Yeah, no.
People. This was another thing. People overreacted to him making fun of Marvel
same
movies.
Same here.
Basically.
I like and respect Mark Maron a lot, and like he's obviously fucking like entitled to his opinions, right?
Yeah, you don't have to like Marvel movies. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem that he sort of got into, right, was he came out and said like he started calling people that like superhero movies and comic books and stuff.
Children, essentially.
Yeah, he called them man children.
Yeah.
I think there was a specific word that he used.
I'll cop to it. It's fine.
Right.
I'll accept it.
Started calling
I'm a
them
man child.
Which is a fucking super offensive fucking thing to say to something. It's just fucking mean.
Yeah.
Right? But when those man children, right, all of these people that, you know, are fans of fucking comic book culture, right, started lashing out at him, being like,
he doubled down.
What the fuck? No, not only he didn't double down. He said, "Whoa, why are you guys getting offended with my opinions? I'm entitled to my opinions. I'm allowed to not like superhero movies." And it's like, motherfucker, we don't care if you don't like superhero movies.
We just don't want you to be mean.
Call the people that like superhero movies man children.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a different thing. So, like, I completely understand why people are getting pissed off at him because he's being an idiot.
It's whatever. I'll cop to being a man child. It's fine.
Yeah.
But that was another hitch in my thing. Was
still
like
fucking rude.
The idea of, I like that there's maybe something to hitch to that, like, oh wait, this is just another potential Joker. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a Joker origin. It could be. It's like Killing Joke. It could be.
I thought of, so you've never seen Taxi Driver.
Okay, so no, I was told this movie was essentially Taxi Driver meets the King of Comedy with the Joker slapped onto it.
I haven't seen the King of Comedy, so I can't.
That's essentially what
vouch
I've
for
been
that.
told.
Right, I can't vouch for that. Now, I'm pretty sure Robert De Niro is also in King of Comedy, so that might be a similar character there. But Taxi Driver is another one where you can very much say, like, it feels like the entire movie is almost directed by Travis Bickle. And by that, I mean,
What a name.
It's like...
Is it an unreliable narrator thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could say it, but like in cinematic terms, right?
I'll say, though, like, if that's true, Arthur Fleck, he's got an eye, man.
Yeah, dude. Super
if he directed the
good.
movie, that's interesting.
Yeah, dude, like manipulating fucking depth of field and
good,
shit. Yeah, a lot of good composition.
I'll say there was one like technical aspect that I really hated in the
What's
moment. The choice of song on the stair scene.
Yeah, I agree.
It was dumb.
I agree.
I thought that scene in the trailer was better than in the movie because they used the Joker theme. The Joker theme is good.
Yeah.
The score of the film is good.
Yeah, but that was way too generic.
Like, what are you doing? Really weird. I guess they wanted to like portray how he felt in the moment. Like he was like, I'm gonna go get it. Like, it was a very strange choice. I did not like it at all.
It took me out a little bit. And I agree.
And it was like this emotional high point for him. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah.
And then our cop boys show up. What's that dude's name? Fucking Mr. I'm in Everything Now. I meant to look at Shea Wiggum.
Oh,
he played one of the cops.
Yeah. Shea Wiggum. We already talked about Brian Callen, Mark Maron.
Randomly Brian Callen.
The dude from True Detective season 1. Did you catch that?
Which dude?
So the guy that Arthur fucking kills in his apartment.
The big guy. Oh, that's right. Yeah, his name's Glenn Fleshler.
He plays the fucking villain in True Detective 1.
Brett Cullen was Thomas Wayne. Frances Conroy was his mom, Penny. Zazie Beetz.
That might have been pronounced as Zazie. Is Zazie?
I've heard Zazie. I don't know if it's Zazie
I don't know.
or Zazie.
I think I say Zazie. I couldn't tell
until told otherwise. I will say Zazie. I think it's Zazie. That might have been my favorite thing in the movie.
Okay, explain.
The fact that Arthur was like creating this relationship with her, because the whole time that was part of. So it worked on two levels, right? There were two things. Or I'll talk about the things that bothered me, and I'm talking about like the believability. One, you've talked about bad bullying, right? How you hate it. Oh, yeah. I think there's a ton of that in this movie where I'm like, this is dumb. Scenes.
Two specific scenes.
The kids like, fighting him. The kids beating him up for no reason, and the dudes on the train beating him up for no fucking reason. Yeah. Even like the lady being mean to him on the train with the kid is just like, why is that? So what that all is the root of my problem with the movie is it's so damn cynical. It's so overly cynical that I was just like, it took me out of the movie. I was like, this is too much.
Okay.
I understand wanting to portray that like this dude sees the world in a way where he's a victim, but it's just so many compounded, over the top,
Right.
cynical and violent happenings that I was like, this is just ridiculous.
And there's also other aspects that of things that happen to Arthur Fleck that you're like, fuck, that is so fucked up.
Well, like his mom,
unbelievable.
When his mom, like, just a small joke where his mom he's like, oh, my stand-up's coming along pretty well, and she's like, how are you gonna be stand-up? You have to be funny.
Don't you have to be funny?
Yeah, that was like a killer line.
Yeah, and it's
and then obviously
it fucks
finding
you
out
up.
about his mom lying about.
Finding out that
Everything
his
is
mom is
terrible.
lying, right?
So-
Those are really well-established things that are happening to Arthur that you're like, okay, I completely understand how he's feeling rejected and alone in this fucking
So that's
society.
another thing that
So-
worked, that by the end I liked, right? But during the movie, I did the hardest eye roll I've done in a movie in a long time.
Okay.
When they presented the fact that Thomas Wayne was his father, I was like, ugh, fuck this. Luckily, it didn't end up being true, but it took me out of the movie in the moment because I was so mad about it. I was like, this is stupid.
So did you... was there any part of you that was like, this might not be real?
Not in the moment.
In the moment, I was like, oh, no, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I just kind of like took her at her
instantly-
word.
But I also, throughout the entire movie, was like sort of like relating Arthur and his mother to like specific characters that I met while I was in the mental clinic.
Okay.
And because I was
You
like,
mean people,
what did I say?
characters.
They are characters, though.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I meant.
You imagine them, they're characters.
No, I'm that delusional. No, but I've talked about how like that was a thing that like I it was a pattern
Yeah.
that I saw while I was in there. Like I was like, oh, like these people are this close to being really good writers. You know, like they're one step away. You know, like the problem is they're not fucking putting this shit down and like trying to, but
Really structure it.
yeah. Idiots. No, but like fucking delusions are like just so
Yeah.
powerful and
Yeah.
so like I think more common than people might.
Did you
think.
like the fact? Did you like the touch of Arthur's picture of his mother with the note from Thomas Wayne on the back after we learned that she had been put into an asylum earlier in her life? Did you catch that?
No.
There's Arthur's looking at a picture of his mom and he turns it around and it says like, "I will love you forever,
Okay.
Thomas," or something like that. And it was done afterward, almost to be like, "Oh wait, maybe she was telling the truth." And I was like, I mean, that's dumb. She obviously just wrote that herself. But people like, there's people that like latch onto that and they're like, oh, maybe Thomas
actually
Wayne
was
was
telling the
lying.
truth.
And so another part of it is just me being a comic book fucking nerd and not liking the idea of demonizing Thomas Wayne.
Right.
And I was like, I don't like this take on the character. I
Right.
don't like that they're doing that. Like the whole point of it's like the Man of Steel's character assassination of Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent. It's the same thing. It's like the whole idea of the reason the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne was so traumatizing and made Bruce long-term become Batman is because they were such almost like angelic figures to the city and to himself. And they weren't that
Yeah.
in this movie at all. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't like that take on Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
Like even taking out the fact that Penny was crazy in some way, had some sort of problem mentally, and she was fabricating the relationship with Thomas Wayne. Even taking that out, he was still a dick to people. And I was like, I don't like this take on Thomas Wayne. And again, it just leads into it's more cynical. It's just everything
Wayne
about the
at
movie
his
is cynical.
best is an asshole politician in this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
He's freaking Christopher Walken in that other Batman movie, whichever one has Catwoman and the Penguin in it.
I don't fucking even remember
Yeah,
Christopher
dude,
Walken.
Christopher Walken's in that movie, and
movie.
he's got wild hair.
It's been a while since I've
Yeah.
seen it. Anyway, so yeah, you talked about, and I agree with you that there was a big part of me that's like, I don't believe this outrage that the entire society has.
Yeah, I didn't buy into that fully. The like, it was such a weird leap to jump from 3 young, essentially Wall Street workers were murdered on the subway late at night, and this incited support from an entire city. And it was, I get that they were trying to establish super hard, like, how bad things were in Gotham at the time.
Right.
And how much people hated the rich, and there was a huge class divide. But again, it just leans into the whole cynicism thing. The idea that an entire city of people are going to get behind murder as their, like, calling card and their rallying flag is insane to
It's
me.
a little purgy, right?
Yeah, it's very purgy.
Yeah, it's a
Maybe
little
that's why I
purgy.
didn't like it.
Yeah, it's very purgy. Yeah, I agree with you to an extent, but I also like there was a little bit of a I'm gonna buy into this so that I can enjoy the movie kind of thing. With that, and I very much thought, okay, like when all of that stuff started happening, I very much was thinking, okay, like let's imagine that all of this stuff is just how Arthur is seeing it.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the opposite side of their perspective, and because he's so fucking delusional and an unreliable narrator, right? This is just how he's seeing things. So, yeah, those I definitely see how those are the weak points for you. And like I said, the mother relationship I thought was very
That was really good.
I thought it was
that
well
was really
done.
good.
As well as the fucking Zazie Beetz thing.
Yeah, that was my
Right.
favorite part of the movie was the Zazie Beetz storyline.
Yeah.
The fact that he completely fabricated this whole relationship.
Exactly.
When that twist occurred, essentially, when you like realized what was happening.
Did you think it was gonna happen?
No.
It's weird how like I felt like sort of on page with everything when he first kissed Zazie, like when he just like knocked on her door and he fucking walked in and kissed her. I was like, get the fuck out of here. She's so much hotter than him. So much.
He definitely didn't kill her, right?
Like the hotness disparity there is like okay, wait.
he definitely did not kill her.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
She was nice to him. And
That's what I'm saying.
wasn't-
So there's two like pretty dark comedy moments in this movie. I mentioned one earlier, I think before we started, when he gets talked to by the police and then he turns to storm away after having a moment about like I have to go see him, and he walks into the exit door.
Yeah.
And it doesn't open for him.
Yeah, I thought
And
it was so brilliant.
It's really good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is when he murders the clown and then the small man can't reach the fucking lock to
It's
leave when he
so-
lets him go.
it's
It's
so
so
fucked
dark
up.
and gross and awful but funny.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It's like quirky in
Yeah.
a way. You know what I thought?
that actor in that scene is really good too.
In the beginning of that scene, this was the only movie.
his
This is
name?
the only time that I actually fucking.
His name's Lee Gill.
The only time that I actually like laughed out loud during this movie was at the beginning of that scene when both of those guys walk into his apartment, right? And they're like, "Why are you all dressed up? Why do you have makeup on?" And this was right after he killed his mom, and he goes, "My mom died. I'm celebrating."
Yeah.
I fucking died. I thought that was really funny, and it's so fucked up.
It's super.
Like
It's one of those like uncomfortably funny moments.
Like the complete like that is so not what a sane person would
Yeah.
say. And even if they didn't fucking kill their own mother,
Yeah.
right?
no one would say that unless your mother was like.
but I thought it was so fucking
Yeah.
funny because it caught me off guard. It was like he said it on under his breath, and I was like, oh god, I love
Again, Joaquin is amazing in this movie,
it. Yeah, I'll agree with you.
and his shoulder blades are especially good.
Why do they like he's very he went a little bit machinist for this movie.
I feel like he
right?
had to.
He lost a little bit.
He
of
had to.
He also Joaquin is like also so crazy that he might have just looked like that already.
He's kind of a gangly dude. I don't know.
He's kind of gangly, and he also I wouldn't be surprised if he had issues with drugs. I'm pretty sure like that might be documented somewhere.
I don't know.
I know that he tried.
I mean, a
rap
lot of
career for a little bit.
Really?
I wasn't sure if that was real.
That's real.
So, okay, I'm not sure if he was being serious or not. Is what I think it's in one of like the he did like a documentary or something. Where
Okay.
He like filmed himself. I'm pretty sure he was like going after a rap career, but
Good for you, Joaquin.
maybe I just dreamt
The
about
good
that. I
thing
don't
for
know.
him is like all he has to do is use his last name as his rap name. Just be the Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
It's a cool name. Maybe spell it weird, Fenix or something.
Or maybe rap with a Christopher Walken accent, but call yourself Christopher Joaquin.
Ooh, that would be a weird bit. That's a very specific bit.
Who would enjoy that? I would. Had to.
Rap made for you. All right. Is there stuff we haven't talked about with this movie yet? I'm trying to think. What's stuff you liked about it? Have we talked about what we liked about it besides Joaquin Phoenix?
I mean, we talked about the performances. I think that it's like it's well directed.
Yeah, it is very well. Yeah, the score is good. The score is good.
Like I think like it definitely provoked a lot of like really disgusting emotions within me. Like especially when he kills Robert De Niro, I was just like, holy
yeah. Let's
shit.
talk about that climactic scene.
That's probably one of the most fucked up things.
Let's talk about the climactic scene, because that's debatably the best scene of the movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say that.
That's what the entire movie's building towards.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's the climax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wanted to feel more during that scene. I think it's a great scene. I think it's really well done and really well performed and everything. It's structured perfectly to be. But I think I was just, there was a part of me that wasn't bought into the movie enough that it didn't move me the way I think it should have.
So you weren't as disgusted by it.
Well,
I thought that it was normal, and you think that everyone should do it.
Obviously. No, well, I think partially it was very, like, we knew it was coming, right? And they weren't trying to hide. It's not like it was some twist that happened they were trying to hide.
Yeah.
He was literally practicing
it.
Yeah. So partially that, and partially just I was just kind of taken out of the movie from how overly cynical it was the whole time, that I wasn't fully invested in the moment.
Yeah.
Fully. I still think it was really well done. And I really, like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is a good scene.
Yeah. For you, is the cynicism. For me, it was Robert De Niro's crazy white teeth.
I didn't even notice that.
Crazy white teeth.
I mean, he's a late night show. He's got to be looking good. He's like a pretty dickish late night show host.
Yeah.
Like, that's really mean to put just a bad comedian on.
Yeah.
And then invite him to your show to make fun of him even more. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm condoning murdering him on camera.
Yeah.
But it's just mean.
Yeah. You're just saying that he deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He deserved getting murdered live on television.
Yeah.
I like the addition of like random guests that we know nothing about, and he like kissed the doctor. It was just really weird.
I almost like very much like when everybody was like, oh, like what, like a way to make an entrance or something like that. I was just like, how many fucking people have done that in their careers?
I don't know.
But like they've kissed the female guest.
No clue.
Russell Brand has had to have done it at least once in his life, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Freaky.
Also, though, like not as many late night shows do all guests at once anymore. I don't think.
Right.
So less chance of it happening anymore.
Has Justin Timberlake ever like just come out and just kiss Jimmy Fallon right on the lips?
Probably. They probably just made out.
If he hasn't, why not?
Yeah, it's a good point. Just in the middle of one of their rap histories, just make out.
Just make out.
That'd be great. They haven't done that in a long time. I guess
make
there's
out,
only so
probably.
Oh God! Now I lost my train of thought and what I was going to say. Oh, I do like that moment when he says, I forget what Robert De Niro's character's name was, but he's like, "Hey, can you introduce me as Joker?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Joker, why?" And he's like, "That's what you called me." And then there's like when he sets up the pose, and I was like, "This is the moment that Arthur became Joker."
Right.
And you can really see it. Like when he walks through those curtains, that's the moment. And he takes on a new, more charismatic persona than he's ever shown throughout the movie. Like when he's doing that interview, just the act of kissing the doctor and all of these other things, and he's actually like doing banter.
There's a level of confidence that Arthur
that
Fleck
he didn't
never
have.
had.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Because even in that moment, there's again. I like comics a lot. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking like this dude would not be Batman's arch nemesis. I kept thinking that as I watched this movie. I was like, Arthur Fleck would not become Batman's arch nemesis. And even in that scene, I don't know if I think he would. Because part of the weird sort of downfall of the way the movie portrays. So there's the scene when he's going to the late night show and the cops are chasing him and he gets on the subway. I think that's when you first see him sort of adapting to his environment and being tricky and doing kind of jokery things. He's using the mask and he's hiding among the crowd of people with clown masks on and stuff. And then he gets there and that's like and then he becomes the Joker. And then, even then, I'm like, you're not that dude. It's not a knock on Joaquin's performance, or it's just a different take on the character, and it's really a take on the character in a Batman-less world. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
I'm not afraid of that dude beating Batman. I'm afraid of Heath Ledger beating Batman.
And he's also not portrayed as a genius in any
That's
way,
part of the
right?
problem. Yeah, that's what
Whereas,
I'm saying. Like that subway scene is the only glimpse of that you get.
Like Joker in The Dark Knight is like so like you believe that he's capable.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before about how like the Joker always talks about like I'm not a man with a plan, right?
Yeah.
Like he always talks about that, but
I'm an agent of
motherfucker,
chaos.
you got a plan.
He has several plans.
He has several plans.
He makes
You're
several
juggling
plans.
so many different
Yeah.
things.
He's also a liar.
Yeah. Yeah, but you also felt that he was capable, right? Like
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger's
Yeah, of course.
Joker.
Absolutely.
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is just like, oh, this is a very sad man
Yeah.
that is going to make a lot of
Who
awful,
bungled his
awful-
way into being the face of a movement.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like he accidentally did it.
Yeah.
And then like when the cop car crashes and they pull him out, and then he just kind of like you almost like are like, is he doing the same thing in this moment that he did in the comedy club, where he thought he was killing?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe is this moment actually him just thinking he's being worshipped by these people, but in fact they're just rioting?
Maybe. Did the Batman origin scene bother you at all?
What? How many times do we have to see Martha Wayne's pearls go flying?
I don't know, man.
How many
I
times?
don't fucking know.
We
man.
get it. Dude, Pattinson's movie better not have it. We don't need it. It's like Uncle Ben. We've seen it so many times. The Marvel Spider-Man movies have dodged saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." I would say to this point almost to a fault. Like, you can say it. It's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need to watch Uncle Ben die with every new iteration of Spider-Man. We know as a cultural zeitgeist what happened.
It's in the collective unconscious, as Carl
Yeah.
Jung would say.
Yeah, sure. Now,
Not really.
like,
though. That's not. What the
we
collective
know
unconscious is.
that Martha Wayne was wearing pearls outside of a Zorro showing.
Yeah. And it's not even like it's like the exact same way that like I'm not
It's
sure.
always
how-
the same. It's always a thug in an alley.
But it's always the gun itself getting caught on the pearls, and then they fucking pull the pearls.
Yeah, that does
off
happen a
with
lot.
the gun.
This one at least
That
didn't do
happened-
the pearls in slow motion.
True.
They stepped back a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
You know who I
was
did like? I did like young Alfred.
Yeah.
I liked the take because, well, I mean, you always sort of can forget when Alfred's old that Alfred was supposed to be like in the British Secret Service and he was like a soldier and like a combat medic and stuff like that. You got that from this guy. He was like tough. He was tough. He was mean. He was mean to Alfred.
know about that.
Or to
When
Arthur.
When Arthur
Also,
grabbed
Bruce.
him.
Say something. Move. Don't let this creepy guy touch you so much. Something, little kid. What the fuck are you doing? He's got his fingers in your mouth. That's weird.
It's weird. It's weird. Yeah, when Arthur grabbed Alfred, I very much like got the vibe like, oh, this isn't that kind of Alfred. Like, he's a danger. That's what I thought.
We were on reverse ends of Alfred
Yeah,
there for some reason. That's weird.
I was like, oh, Alfred's
He's like a pretty big dude that played him. I don't know. He was mean.
yeah.
He was aggressive.
I was just like, oh, like this Alfred's not doing anything.
Interesting.
I expect him to do the little Russ Cole fucking like I'll break your wrist thing. Remember that? I don't even know if that's real, but it was so cool when they did it in True Detective.
That's kind of weird how we ended up on complete opposites on that.
Yeah.
A little scene. Anyway, I'm glad he's not Thomas Wayne's son. That's my biggest takeaway from the movie. I might have like rioted on this podcast if that ended up being like the route they took.
The real thing?
Like I might have gone full Batman vs Superman on this movie if that happened. Just because it would have offended my sensibilities so much. I would have been a little snowflake about it.
What if they did a double okey doke and fucking Thomas Wayne was like, look, the Joker is my son, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not you. And then he fucking pointed to Bruce and Bruce like had like Bruce had like
Smile
makeup,
weird.
and he was like he had like lipstick and he was like putting it on his face.
Listen, man, on Earth 2, Thomas Wayne becomes Batman and Martha Wayne becomes the Joker because Bruce gets murdered in the alley. Yeah. Yeah. The good doctor becomes the bad bat.
What else? I feel like there should be more with this movie.
I mean,
We've only talked
for a while.
55 minutes.
I mean, it was running for a little
Let's
bit
try to
before
go
we started.
at least 2 hours longer.
No.
Okay.
I don't want to.
All right. We don't have to.
The movie's good. The movie is good. It's worth seeing. I feel
liked it more than
I
you.
feel like I maybe downshot it more than I should have.
I think I liked it more
throughout
than you.
the process of this recording.
Yeah, I think I liked it more than you, though.
You definitely liked it more than me.
I'm also more cynical and have mental issues, so.
So the movie was made for you.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really good movie.
I thought it's good.
It was
It's
really
definitely not a 9 on IMDb. That's a joke.
That's
That's a joke.
That's high.
Yeah.
That's overshooting it,
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah. You know, the like, this is going to keep DC making just random movies. And I think I've come around on it a little bit. When they first said that they were like giving up on their expanded universe, their Marvel style thing, I was kind of upset about it.
Okay.
I was like, but I want to see that. Like, I love the DC characters, and I want to see them the way Marvel.
Version of the Justice
Yes,
League.
exactly.
Yeah.
But also, if they're just going to make like random offshoot movies that are good,
Yeah.
I'm down with that. And they're still doing like connected stuff still, I
Right.
think. Like, it's just kind of random which movies are and
Right.
aren't.
But you're still like very much like, I want more of a connected universe. I want more Zack Snyder.
None of that. None more. No more of that.
I'm getting to the point in the podcast where I'm so tired that I'm just continually making jokes.
That's why I'm going to sign us out.
Let's do it.
Hey, you know we're doing our poll winner next week?
Really?
Yeah.
What the fuck is there? Oh, Halloween movies.
Yes. Disney Halloween movies.
Yeah, I had to think
Hocus
about it.
Pocus, Halloween Town.
I've seen them both.
Hey, you've been on a little
Don't
binge
vote
Rooney.
for.
It's over. You can't influence it
Oh, it's
anymore.
already. Oh, who won?
I'm not telling you.
All right, then tell our listeners. I'll just be.
Oh, what a trick. Hocus Pocus.
Fuck yes. Thank God. Thank God.
Yes, so we will be doing Hocus Pocus next week. You came out the other day. You had just watched it with Kate, and you were like, "That movie's actually really fucking good."
Good, dude. And it holds up.
Yeah, I have to rewatch it. I haven't watched it in a while, but
It holds up
oh,
compared to other fucking. I mean,
DComs?
specifically Disney
Halloween
Channel
movies?
right? Halloween movies. So it's kind of a very specific niche, but fucking Hocus Pocus fucking holds up, and I'm excited to.
I'm not
talk
gonna
about
lie. When Disney Plus drops, there's a chance I go on a weird decom just binge
it.
spree.
Right,
of
13th year.
Yeah, good pool. Johnny
Right,
Tsunami.
right.
Fucking Luck of the Irish.
Uh-huh.
What was the one with the twin
Back to
female
Us, That's
basketball
9.
players? What's that?
What?
What?
Huh?
Anyway,
Little Mermaid? Huh?
that will also be on there.
Yeah.
So I will watch that. I haven't watched The Little Mermaid in a long time. I will definitely watch The Little Mermaid when that drops. Find Christopher on social media. You can read his scripts on his website at chrismichaelstott.com. Chris Michael Stott on Instagram. I am Davenwell25 on Twitter and Instagram. The show, The Chris and Kyle Show, is on Instagram, on all podcasting platforms, on YouTube, on Facebook. tcaks pod on Twitter. Like, share, rate, review, all that fun stuff. I am going to get us out of here before Chris says something really dumb. We out.
Well, yeah, stay weird.